very excited to talk to our next guest. He is a legend from the world of boxing, former CEO of Golden Boy Promotions, helped make Golden Boy Promotions into what it is today. And earlier this week, we found out that he is the new president of the new boxing promotion and media company called Probellum. He is also tied to the world of MMA these days as well. He is a man, if you know anything about boxing, in the last 20 plus years, you definitely know who Richard Schaefer is, and it's an absolute honor to have him on the program for the very first time. Richard, how are you, my friend?
Very well. How are you? It's an honor to be on your show, and a big fan of yours, and I really like what you stand for.
Oh, thank you, Richard. I appreciate it. I've been trying to reach out to you for a very long time, and all it took was a text from Eric Winter, the legend, to link us up, and there you were within seconds texting with me. So this is, as someone who has been watching your fights that you have promoted and put on for so many years, it's actually somewhat surreal to be talking to you right now. So thank you for that.
Thank you as well.
All right, so we have a lot to talk about. A big week for you. Monday, the big announcement that you are now the new president of a boxing promotion and media company called Probellum. What is Probellum, Richard?
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you for your citizen test yesterday. This is your citizen test.
Yes, thank you.
I know that feels, I'm an immigrant myself. I came here from Switzerland 35 years ago. You probably can still hear it in my accent. I came with pretty much not more than a suitcase full of dreams. And America really is the greatest country to be able to work with Floyd and with Jon, and now entering into this exciting venture with Probellum is just really a dream come true. So I can relate on that, and so congratulations.
Thank you.
Probellum is really something I've been waiting for. It starts with the team, the strength of the team. You mentioned Eric Winter before. He really is a legend. You said that well in his own. He's, for those who don't know him, was instrumental in starting the Fight Pass at UFC, was the former rival CEO at Rivals and Yahoo, and was at DirecTV. And then you have Harrison Whitman, amazing strategic mind who worked as a big-time lawyer at a big law firm here in Los Angeles, and then at Top Rank as well. And then with Anthony Pettozo, you probably know him as well. He's done a lot of production for UFC and Emmy Award-winning producer. So it's just a great team. And what we want to do with Probellum is different than what I've done at Golden Boy. It's frankly different than any other promoter. And it might sound strange and weird and probably unbelievable, but we actually want to bring unity to the sport of boxing. We want to help to elevate the sport and unite all these fragmented different promoters and work with all of them, work with all the managers, and really elevate in the process the sport of boxing.
And so people have talked about unity, and you know there's a lot of interesting characters in this sport. There's a lot of fragmentation. People don't want to co-promote. They don't want to work together. There's the TV networks. Obviously, I think everyone would like that. How do you get it done? How do you work with all these characters who, have very big egos and who are alpha males? How do you plan to do this?
I think the benefit I have, I know all of these characters. And we actually want to start from the bottom up. We want to really get involved on the grassroots level as well. We want to empower local promoters. And I'm not just talking about here in the United States, I'm talking globally. So we really want to focus on the amateur system as well. And we want to really let the sport grow from the bottom up. We have tremendous access to capital and to sponsors. So we want to become co-promoters with some of these other promoters. We want to really help them elevate their brands and their platforms. And, it's not going to be, as they say, Rome wasn't built overnight. But I think where there is a way, where there is a will, there is a way. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We want those fights to happen. And I think that's the problem, which has been a problem for boxing for so long. At UFC, you see these fights happening. And at boxing, you have like these different leagues. And we want to build bridges, and we want to be in between. We want to help with our access to sponsors, to venues, to all of that, and get these big fights done.
Why did you call it Probellum?
Well, it's just a great name. I love the logo our people came up with, and it sort of like ties in a bit with one of my favorite movies, John Wick, which had a similar name, Probellum. And I think it's a powerful name. It's Latin. It stands, it embraces the past. Boxing is one of the oldest sports going back to the gladiator days, Latin and Rome and all that. And then it is modern. And I think we sort of like brought the modern twist to it. I think the logo is sort of like almost Superman-like. It's a great logo. It's a strong brand. And it embraces the past and it will define the future.
When do you expect to put on your first event?
The company is going to be promoting worldwide. So the US in the beginning is probably going to be less important. We are going to be focusing a lot on a lot of overseas fights. I think the first one is going to be in November in the UK in a co-promotion with some of the leading UK promoters as well. So we're going to do all of these different things. We're going to be focusing as well on sort of like underdeveloped markets, like Africa, for example. A perfect example with UFC. I believe that some of the best athletes today in basketball as well are coming from the African continent. And in boxing, they sort of like have been perceived as opponents. They are being built up in Africa, come over here as opponent, usually put into fights too early on. They lose the fights and then they're being shipped back to Africa. We don't want to do that. We want to build champions in Africa and we want to put on events in Africa. Our goal is in the first year, and I know it's ambitious, but I know we will achieve it, is to be involved in 100 events.
Wow.
100 events.
100 events in 1 year, in the midst, at least as of now, hopefully not forever, in the midst of a pandemic. That is challenge. I mean, it's challenging in its own right to do 100 events in the midst of the pandemic as well. Why such a large number in 1 year?
Well, because as I said, it will not just be events which we stage on our own, but it will be with the Probellum brand involved. And that can be, we are going to be announcing in the coming weeks several co-promotional agreements in about 5 or 6 different markets and regions. So Probellum is going to be very active in markets around the world. So some of those fights will come from there. But of course, we will focus on the 2 key markets as well, the 2 most mature markets in boxing, which is the UK and the United States. So here we will do co-promotions as well. As I said, we will work with different promoters. Some of those co-promotional agreements will be revealed in the coming days and coming weeks. And then we're going to do, as I mentioned, the grassroots boxing. We're going to do events in Mexico as well. In Puerto Rico, in Canada. So we really are going to be focusing on building Probellum into a global brand.
Do you have any fighters that will be exclusively signed to Probellum?
Yes, we are going to be announcing in the coming days probably 20 to 30 fighters which are exclusively signed to Probellum. And then there are going to be some others which we will be announcing as well, which we will promote in co-promotion with other promoters. And I think that's a key right there. In the past, a promoter always wanted to keep the fighters to themselves, and we don't share them, and they can only fight on our platform and so on. And I think that's wrong for the sport. So we have no problem sharing a fighter with another promoter if it allows a fighter to participate in fights on different platforms. And that's fundamentally different than anybody else has done in boxing. Think about it. To allow one of your star fighters to become co-promoted with a rival promoter, unheard of. But it's for the betterment of the fighter, and it certainly is for the betterment of the sport.
Will you be in business or tied to exclusively to any specific TV network?
We will have our own network relationships, but the idea really is to avoid exclusivity, because exclusivity, I think, hurts the fighters and hurts the sport. So we really want to do what is right for the sport and what is right for the fighter, and that means you're going to have network flexibility.
Okay. Do you have any deals right now with any networks?
They will be announced as well in the coming weeks. We just announced this week the start. It was really about announcing the team. It was about announcing our mission and our vision. But it really was about the team. I feel that this is like an all-star team. I've never seen a team in boxing with that kind of corporate background, with that kind of experience, and that kind of financial capital behind them as well. So, as I said, I was waiting for an opportunity like that to really sort of like bring a corporate structure into boxing. And so this week was really about that. But we will be over the next 5-6 weeks, almost on a daily basis, coming out with press releases announcing network deals, announcing fighter signing, announcing some of our founding sponsors, announcing all sort of different the kind of talent which we will use for our shows. So there's going to be a lot of announcements coming on in the coming days and weeks.
When you parted ways with Golden Boy, you had a venture called Ringstar. What's the difference between this venture and that one?
Well, Ringstar was sort of like a placeholder. After I left Golden Boy, I sort of like, I was fortunate to build up Golden Boy at the time into what was the largest boxing promotion company, promoted close to 400 or over 400 events. And so I sort of like sought first. They tried to keep me out for like with a non-compete for like 4 years or so, which didn't work. So I could have actually come back, but I didn't because I wasn't so sure whether I want to do that again. But then fighters started calling me, and I saw found a lot of love from the boxing fans, and they asked me to come back. And so I said, okay. And I love the sport. I'm passionate about it. So I formed Ringstar. Ringstar was sort of like a one-man show, a small fish in a big pond. And it's very difficult to compete in anything if you sort of like a small fish in a big pond. And I sort of like had it as a placeholder. And during that time, I was pursuing other opportunities, and I was waiting for an opportunity to really get involved at the absolute highest level and build a boxing promotion business from the ground up with the right team, the right people, the right vision, the right capital, and really bring the corporate world, bring a corporate structure to boxing. And it took a while, it took a long time to find that group who have a similar passion and a similar vision. But with Probellum, we have that now. And I'm all fired up to get this going.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Could I ask, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, do you have any kind of relationship with Oscar anymore?
No, he sort of like went his way and I went my way. And I'm very proud of what I've done there. And, not just what I've done for him with Golden Boy, but what I've done for him outside of the ring as well. I structured for him a deal where he could invest in the Houston Dynamo soccer franchise, and that was a very successful one, and some real estate ventures as well and other things. So I'm very proud of what I've done for him inside and outside of the ring and building up Golden Boy. But sometimes, you just need to move on, and you need to, and it's not easy, to move on. I mean, that as well, when you sort of like entrenched in something and it's successful and it's going very well, and you could sort of like stay there for the rest of your life, but sometimes you need change, and sometimes you need that fire again, and for me it was time to move on, but for Oscar it was time to move on as well, and we parted ways.
Okay. Well, this is the second time I would say this year that you've created a lot of buzz, because earlier, and the first one really came out of nowhere. Earlier this year, Jon Jones announced that he had retained you as his advisor, that he had parted ways with his longtime management team, First Round Management, Malki Kawa and his brother Abraham Kawa, and he had retained you, Richard Schaefer, the great boxing promoter, over 400 fights you promoted, CEO of Golden Boy, all this stuff, as his new advisor, as he was trying to figure out his next step with the UFC, moving up to heavyweight and all this stuff. Could I ask, before I ask the obvious question, which I'm sure you knew was coming, about what's going on right now with Jon, how did this happen? How did you and Jon Jones even link up?
Well, it was actually through a mutual relation, a mutual friend. And I've always been, I can't say always, in the very beginning, I wasn't really a UFC fan. But I really became a fan. I love what Dana does. I have a nice friendly relationship with Dana and with Hunter as well. And I just respect them for what they do. They built a sport, and love them or hate them, you've got to respect that. And they built something out of virtually nothing, and so I really always liked them, always sort of like was a fan. But I never saw that I was going to get involved advising an MMA fighter. But Jon went after he parted ways with his old management firm. He was going to interview a group of different agencies and managers and stuff like that. And then I guess his friend told him, "Hey, you should meet Richard Schaefer." And so we met in LA. We immediately connected. I'm known in boxing as a fighter first promoter because without the talent, you have nothing. Without the talent, we are nothing. There is no sport, I don't have a job. You don't have a job, but certainly not in this industry. We'd be working somewhere else. I might be back in banking. But so it really starts with the talent. And here he realized that. But he realized as well that through my experience in boxing, I was involved and structured some of the biggest pay-per-view events in the history of combat sports. And so he really wanted somebody with that expertise, but he sort of like wanted somebody who is independent from UFC, who doesn't has like the background and already sort of like in the UFC world. He wanted a fresh and different perspective. And it really reminded me in many ways, going back to 2000 when Oscar De La Hoya did exactly the same. I mean, I was a boxing fan, but I never thought I was going to be leaving my banking days behind and go into boxing. But he wanted somebody with a different perspective, and Jon wanted exactly the same. So we connected that night here in LA when we met and had a great meeting, spent several hours together. And he told his people that he wants to work with me, and he wants me. And was very, very within a matter of a day or two, we worked out our deal. And then I called my good friend Dana and gave him the news.
And how did he receive that news?
He actually, I think his first words like, wow, and maybe another wow. So it was like he was surprised and shocked. And then he said, I remember that after a few wows, he said, good luck. And, you have to realize back then, Jon and Dana, they went at it a bit. There were some, I wouldn't say Twitter wars, but right. There were certainly some heated arguments going back and forth. And I, as I said, I like Dana. We get along well, and he respects me for what I've done and my business acumen. And so he said some very nice things on air as well on different platforms. And I told Jon, I said, look, what we need to do is we need to really not that the relationship was broken, but we need to sort of like reset the relationship and not get involved anymore with, and I always tell that to my athletes, don't get involved in these public Twitter wars, because it's not, in the end, it's just going to, people dig in their heels. And if we want to get big fights done, the only way you get big fights done, you negotiate behind closed doors. And I know the media guys are calling and they want to know every step of those negotiations, but seal your lips and let's get a fight done. And I explained that to Jon, and he totally agreed. And you've seen that there's no more Twitter wars. The relationship with UFC and with Dana is now a relationship of mutual respect. So I think we've made big inroads there. And then, of course, the next thing was he told me what he wants. I mean, what he wants from a professional point of view, what his goals are. And he was very clear from the very beginning. He wants to fight for the heavyweight championship. And so I sat down with Dana and with Hunter. And, first they tried maybe to do another, like a comeback fight or an interim fight or this or that. And I said, no. He wants to do a fight. He wants to fight. First, we were thinking about maybe November or December, but he really then felt that he wants to train. He's the ultimate professional. I mean, I honestly have only seen once an athlete which is so structured and so strategic in his training, and that's Floyd Mayweather. And I think that's why they both are the GOATs. One is the GOAT of boxing and the other one is the GOAT of MMA. They go about it in a very strategic manner. So he said, look, I'm not going to be ready in November or December. I want to bulk up. I want to bulk up in a smart way, in a strategic way, not just like gain weight and be a big heavyweight. I want to gain the right weight. And I by the way, I talked to him yesterday. He is 260 pounds now.
Wow.
Which is exactly wow.
260. Wow.
60, but not like, 260 muscle, strong, explosive. And his goal is to go to 275 and basically be the biggest and baddest heavyweight UFC has ever seen. And, the way he mentally and strategically prepares himself, as I said, I've just never seen it. And I am sure, based on my 20 plus years experience in combat sports, I can assure you, as I'm sitting here, based on what I've seen from him, based on his mental and physical preparedness and how he goes about it, we will have next year a new heavyweight champion, and his name will be Jon Jones.
So my understanding is that Francis Ngannou and Cyril Gane are going to fight for the unification bout in January or February. When does that mean we see Jon Jones fight? Like next summer?
Yeah. So basically, I understand it's probably going to be in January.
Yeah.
And so you're probably going to have to, sometime towards the middle of next year. And, I see that in boxing as well. Sometimes when you are an athlete who has been very active and who has done a lot of fights, it actually is a benefit when you take some time off and you let your body rest, you let your soul rest, you let your mind refocus, and you come back with that fire again. And so he actually, I think that layoff is going to play in his favor, and he sort of like has no problem to watch on how these other guys are going to beat themselves up, and then he's going to come in and he's going to, claim the day.
What about the money issue? Because they seem to be very far apart on that one.
Yes, so I think what we need to do is, as I said, I think that's one of the benefits, because I know the pay-per-view structure, the revenue sources from all the different revenue sources. I know what they are. I know where they come from. So I can have an intelligent conversation with Hunter and with Dana about this and find a way. You're never going to be able to get the ideal structure, but the key is to find a structure which UFC can live with and Jon can live with. And probably neither party is going to be totally happy about it, but I think that's the deal which is going to get made. And that's how the fight is going to get made. And I have to say, I've had very good conversations about such a structure and how to go about it. And I believe that we are going to get, I know we're going to get that fight done.
Wow.
Because this could really be the biggest fight. This could be, in my opinion, the biggest fight in combat sports history. Because these are just two unbelievable athletes. Especially if it's Ngannou against Jon, or Jon against Ngannou, that is just like a dream match.
It'd be amazing.
If I put my not the promoter UFC is, but I'm certainly going to help in any way, shape, or form to make this fight as big as we can. And I'm so fired up. It gives me the chills just to think about it.
I know. I've been talking about this fight for what feels like forever. So I'm assuming, based on your comments, you will still work with Jon despite the fact that Probellum is now a thing, which I think is very good news for everyone who wants to see this fight come to fruition. Unfortunately, we only have like a minute left. Richard, this has been such a great conversation. I hope we can do it again in the future. I did want to ask, I understand there's a great story behind that statue over there, over your right shoulder. Could you tell us about that? The Bernard Hopkins statue.
That is Bernard Hopkins. That's back in 2007, I think it was. He fought Kelly Pavlik in Atlantic City. Kelly Pavlik was the undisputed middleweight champion, and he was the younger, stronger fighter. And at that time, Bernard Hopkins was in his mid-40s. There was virtually nobody who gave him a chance. People, the media were worried about it, and they said like, "Oh, you shouldn't let him fight. This is crazy. He can get injured, and it's going to be really bad." And I said, "Well, I believe in Bernard Hopkins. He's another GOAT." And we did that fight in Atlantic City, and it was a 12-round fight. He beat up, schooled the young fighter Kelly Pavlik. Kelly Pavlik didn't win a round. It was all Hopkins. And after the fight, the post-fight press conference, Bernard comes in, all the media guys are there, they're in awe. And he looks at them and he says, nobody here believed in me. In this entire room, there's one person who believed in me, and that was Richard Schaefer, who got me this fight. Thank you, Richard. And he gave me the entire outfit,
wow,
from the shoes, shorts, to the mask and everything.
Wow.
And so this is a reminder for me. I have that here in my office. This is a reminder for me that if you put your mind to it, you can and you will. And Bernard Hopkins, in that regard, is an inspiration, was an inspiration to me. So was the one right behind me here, Floyd Mayweather. How he worked and how his ethics and how he went about it. No drinking, no smoking, no nothing, just an absolute total professional. And you see the results year after year, the highest paid athlete in the world. So for me to work with fighters like that, to help them, has been an honor, and to help them become the GOAT, and to be working with Jon Jones, who is the GOAT, and now with Probellum, who I will try to build into the GOAT. You don't become a GOAT overnight. It takes time. It took time for these guys here. And you've got to give me some time with Probellum, but I have no doubt that Probellum will become the GOAT of boxing promotions.
I love it. I wish you the best, my friend. What a great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. Best of luck to you and the team with Probellum. Best of luck with Jon. Thank you for all the insight. Please do come back. Keep in touch. And I can't wait for the first few shows that you're going to put on. I'm really excited about this. Thank you so much, Richard. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you. Until soon.
All right. There he is, Richard Schaefer. How much fun was that? That was great. Great insight. 275 pounds, Jon Jones, who fought at 205. Wow.